Hello everyone, my name is Andy and today I want to talk a little bit about what it's like to be 10. And more specifically, I want to give a little bit of advice on how to make that 1 year in your life a little bit better and a little bit easier to get through. So without any further ado, here are 10 things I wish I knew when I was 10. Tip number 1 is it's okay to feel things. When you have an emotion, you can't just force it to go away. You have to learn different ways to feel that emotion in a way that it won't hurt yourself or others. Writing for me became a really helpful coping mechanism. Whatever you're feeling or not feeling is okay. Meet yourself where you're at and figure out what you can do to take care of yourself in this moment. The second piece of advice that I have is, hey, you look great. Magazines or advertisements that I often saw growing up only represented one type of beauty. I thought that because I didn't always look like that one person in the magazine, that I wasn't beautiful. I understand what it's like to believe that you're not good enough. But I can also say this, you are amazing. Just think about it. Out of the whole galaxy, somehow, some bundle of cells formed together and created the amazing, thoughtful, creative, intelligent, funny, beautiful thing that is you, who is living, walking, and breathing on this earth every day. And that is such a miracle. You are amazing simply because you exist. Not because you look this way or that way, but because you're alive. Tip number 3, perfectionism won't make you perfect. I still just as much need to hear this today. At some point in my life, I started to think that I was only okay if I was perfect. When I did drawings, I wanted to draw them perfectly. If I handed in an assignment, I needed to get the highest mark possible. And if I didn't, I would be so hard on myself. When I'm really hard on myself, sometimes I get too scared to even try. Being okay with not being perfect means leaving yourself room to grow. And this is so important. Tip number 4, use your time wisely. I used to take piano lessons once a week, and I took them for 9 years, but I never practiced. Nowadays, when I look back, I really regret that I didn't use my time more wisely and just practice my piano every couple of days. If I was talking to my 10-year-old self, I would say, put down the mouse and go practice your piano, because your future self really wishes she knew how to play. My next piece of advice for my 10-year-old self is, you know more than you think you know. It's really frustrating because sometimes when you're young, people just don't really listen to you or try to understand where you're coming from. When I was 10 years old, a lot of times people didn't really believe me when I talked about things. When it comes to something about how you're feeling or how you're perceiving something, sometimes you really are right. It's really important to both know how to learn and be corrected, and how to know when you kind of get it, and when you know what's right or what's wrong in a certain situation. Tip number 6, lean in to what you like. People would always tell me to be myself. And this was so frustrating for me because I had no idea who that was. Now I'm 23 years old and I still don't know who I am. You just need to lean into what you like. Did you notice that when you were reading a book, it really made you feel excited and happy? Then try to read more books that are like that. Did you notice that when you saw somebody riding a skateboard, you felt so psyched to see the cool tricks that they were doing? Maybe try to see if a friend of yours has a skateboard so that you can try it yourself. Sometimes our bodies and our minds and our hearts, they give us these little clues into who we really are. When people tell you to be yourself, what they're really telling you to do is become your own detective. Tip number 7, enjoy the little things. I remember when I was in grade 6, I didn't really have a lot of friends. When I was at school, getting through the day felt like the hardest, toughest thing that I could do. But I started to learn little ways that I could make it through. One of those things was finding joy in the little moments. Even when life is tough or overwhelming or stressful, there are so many little gifts here and there just waiting to brighten up your day. Number 8, nobody starts by knowing everything. I used to be so hard on myself for not just knowing everything. I would always be way too scared to admit when I didn't know what I was doing or when I made a mistake. It was only 3 years ago when my friend said something that blew my mind. I can't remember what word it was, but I used some word that she didn't understand. And she responded to me by saying, "Oh, I don't actually know what that word means. Do you mind telling me?" She was so humble and confident, and she was so comfortable with just not knowing what that word meant. Ever since then, I've tried really hard to replicate that in my own life. Tip number 9, awkwardness is a part of life. Even as an adult, people are so awkward. But what we're better at is recovering from awkward moments. Embarrassing and awkward things, they happen to the best of us. In fact, they happen to all of us. It's important to just learn how to embrace those situations and accept that, you know what? Awkwardness is just a part of life. So the 10th and final piece of advice that I have for you is that this is a teeny tiny blip in your life. This means that if being 10 years old has been really tough and really painful, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Alternatively, if being 10 has been an absolute breeze and you've loved every second of it, enjoy it while you're there. At the end of the day, remember that you have so much more of a beautiful, wonderful, exciting life ahead of you. And I'll end it off with this wonderful, awkward picture of me at 10 years old. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful year as a 10-year-old, and I hope that you find all the light you can in this time of your life. Stay awkward.